Is Anna on yet? Anna?
I'm on.
I just got a message from Emily Loda.
Uh-huh.
Letting you know that she's on her phone and she's following the meeting right now.
Okay.
And then once she's at home, she's driving, she'll join from the computer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But she is present via phone in her car.
Okay, great. I'm just checking if we have a quorum. Has anybody checked that?
Nope.
Okay, I'm going through.
Can you hear me better than this morning, than earlier?
Definitely. Sounds good. Looks like we don't have a quorum yet.
Okay. Are you counting, Emily?
Emily might not be. Can Emily see on her phone?
I'm here. I can hear everything.
Yeah.
I'm headed out of school. We had conference night.
She just popped up on the screen. She's talking, so she's present.
Okay. I think we have 9 voting members, and we just need 1 more.
All right, Stacy, that's a glamour shot you just stuck right up there. I'll stop talking. I miss seeing people. That's why I talk so much.
Yeah. You still see only 9 at the moment.
What is happening?
Diane, do you think we should send a quick email to everybody? What do you think we should do if we don't have a quorum?
I think we can't have a meeting without a quorum. Did you get responses or just send emails today?
I did get one response saying she couldn't come. It was Sharon Zuckerwald. But I didn't ask for responses either, so I'm not sure.
I don't have any other text or emails.
Okay, I'll send a quick email to everybody.
Is Erin on? I don't see her. Dude, I can't see the full screen.
I don't see her. Do you have a way to contact her?
I'll see if I have her in my phone. I sent Erin a text.
Okay, thanks.
Paper bag here. And I'm going to say it matters, brown on the side. It doesn't.
Sorry. I don't know if you could hear that. Sorry, I guess I was muted. So what I was saying was, if we could just try to contact a few other members, maybe someone will show up. We just need one person to reach the quorum. So I was asking, I don't have contact information for the other members, so I was asking if anyone does, and these are the members we would be contacting if we can. Larissa Richards, Lori Church, Colby Brown, Cheryl Burrell Graves, Julie Stanley, Carrie Weatherspoon, and Lakin Smith.
Who is after Cheryl Burrell Graves? Julie Stanley?
Yep.
He was on last time.
Yeah.
I don't have their phone numbers, but I can send emails.
Okay. I did send an email to everybody, but if you also send an email, that might help.
Let's see. I have Cheryl B. Graves, so I'll send her a text.
Thank you.
It's also parent-teacher conference week, so that's where a lot of your teachers are, and I'm sure that's where Cheryl is as well.
Oh, okay. I guess we have to decide how long to wait. I'm not really sure, and this hasn't happened before. If no one shows up, we will need to adjourn and then have another meeting on another day.
Did the person who was phoning in, did they show up already?
Yes, I counted that person as part of the 9 who are present.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I didn't hear back from Aaron.
Okay.
Was tonight conference night for all district schools?
It's conference week, but I don't know that
Okay.
tonight was,
I
yeah.
was gonna say, I don't know if any other like division employees may have had like conferences run over or transitioning home and that's making them delayed. I'm not sure. Just a thought. Ours ended at 6:30 at CHS, that's all.
I'm also trying to contact Brenda Drake to see if she has any advice. But yeah, well, I won't make you guys wait like all evening if nobody shows up.
Yeah, essentially what we all have to do is end the meeting and then pick another date, just like you said previously.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, there's no reason to bother Brenda. That's exactly what we need to do.
Okay. And do you have an opinion on how long we should wait when we could make that decision?
It's really your call. If you want to wait another 5 minutes, then you just let people know. And then at the end of that 5 minutes, if you don't have a quorum, then you can just close the meeting and postpone.
And then can I, with, in consultation with Diane and Marty, our vice chair, can we just choose meeting date between now and the next meeting, or what would we?
Sure.
We could do that. Okay.
Yeah. And if you wanted to, you can even, send out an email with a couple of suggested dates.
Okay.
And then ask your committee to respond back to you,
Okay. Yeah.
and
thanks.
that way you'll have a better idea of, will you have a quorum?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah, just give a couple of options. I don't know past Diane, I don't know past this week if there's other conference. I think it's just this week is conference week.
Correct. And I think that schools and teachers could choose. So some could have chosen some evenings different from others.
Right. So I think that's what you're running into, would be my guess. So, even if you picked the next, let's see, next Tuesday wouldn't be good because that's a school board meeting. Unless you want to stick with Tuesdays, that's again your call.
I'm not wedded to Tuesdays myself. Do other people on here have an opinion on that?
We do
I
have
think you-
people, members who have class on Tuesday night.
Okay.
I have
Yeah, so
some
may-
flexibility. I was curious, do you think if we tried to have an in-person meeting, we would have better turnout? Like it might be taken more seriously?
I don't know that you're going to see a difference, Emily.
Okay.
Honestly, I think actually Zoom makes it less hard for people to make the meeting.
Okay.
I would just, like I said, throw out 3 or 4 dates, pick a Thursday. I think in general, most people try to stay away from Wednesdays.
Okay.
And just throw out some dates and say which one would be best, and go with the one that gets you a quorum plus.
Mhm. Okay. That's good. So I'm just thinking, let's just wait 2 more minutes, say to 6:50.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while we're waiting, I have a question. Because Anna, we were going to add the thing about getting the new student person on because Colby's going to graduate. So Marty Graham, maybe you can answer this. If we wanted to add something to the agenda, could we send it out prior to the next meeting? Would that work?
Right, Marty, there's two things you can do. You can either add that to the agenda, and then you would, if you add it like the day before, then you just notify people once you get to the point where you're approving your agenda.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the meeting, the other option is that you can make a motion to amend the agenda at the beginning of your meeting and add it right then.
Okay.
But your student people are gonna, graduate in May. So really you have all the way till June to make that decision. Now, Marty, how did you get your students last year for this committee?
I got Colby because I taught him forever, and he is like one of my all-time favorite people. So you just ask, and
right?
Yeah, just ask because I know that he's very active, the whole equity thing, and I thought he would be fabulous.
Yeah,
so.
Great idea. And I think if you start that now, asking around, you only have to replace one, right?
Right. I think so, yes.
Yeah. Then if you start asking now, then, by the time you get to your June meeting, you have it up for vote and you're good to go.
Do we have an age limit for that? Like, do they have to be high school?
I'd have to look in your bylaws, but I don't think it.
I have to look at my bylaws too. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think it limits it. Hold on, I have those handy. Hold on.
Okay, mine are at school, so.
Let me look real quick for membership. Hold on.
I did have, I won't bother you while you're looking, but I had one more question too.
Okay, hold on. Hold that thought. Let me look on here first. Marty, I don't see an age on there. I think a middle schooler could contribute just as well as a high schooler.
Okay.
Cool. Diane, don't you agree?
I agree. I think that would be a good voice for ours as well.
Right.
Okay.
Again, as long as their parent is okay with it.
Right.
But you don't have any, your membership only lists, your terms and, when they expire. So it doesn't have any type of age limits.
Okay, good. I have a couple ideas. I'll ask around and see.
Okay.
Christiansburg Middle, and there's probably other kids as well. So.
Right. Their term expires on June the 30th. So, you really don't have to vote on it till the meeting in June.
Marty, so my question is, I was under the impression like we had to make a formal decision on how we're going to advertise and stuff. Because I also had the idea of maybe besides just asking, we could also send out a flyer or an email to all the gifted students and see if anyone steps up.
Honestly, and Marty can correct me, but I think your gifted teachers know their students the best.
Okay.
And they're going to know which ones, will accept that opportunity. They also know their parents best. And I just think that's always the easiest route for students. If you open it up, I'm not saying that reduces the entries you get. It just is more work when your gifted teachers are going to know automatically.
Okay.
I think it has to be a certain maturity level too.
That's the other piece to it.
I mean, middle school kids, I can think of some right now that would be awesome, but then there's some that would just, why do I have to be in honors? I'm just kidding. But Misty
Graves just came on.
Oh, B Graves! There you are, girl.
Hey guys, I'm beat down. I'm here.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Yes, look.
Right. So now we have a quorum. So I guess we'll do our meeting tonight. Okay.
I'll make it short.
Maybe.
Look at the report. We can make it short. Thank you for all coming.
Yeah, thank you everybody for showing up and for waiting. Well, I'm looking for my script here. Thanks everyone for being here, and I call this meeting of the MCPS Gifted Advisory Committee to order. I do have a quick announcement I wanted to make. Oh. My announcement was about public address signups, and this is just a change we're making for future meetings. So for this meeting and the last meeting, members of the public who wished to address the GAC just needed to fill out a public address sign-up form just by the time of the public address. But we're making a change to just coincide with the school board policy so that if someone's going to address the meeting via Zoom, they will need to fill out the public address sign-up form 24 hours in advance of the meeting start time. And that just brings us in line with the school board guidelines. And just to clarify, this is just for Zoom meetings, for people, public members participating via Zoom. But once we get back to in-person, members will still be able to sign up, right at the meeting. They would not have to sign up 24 hours in advance. And again, that's in line with what the school board does. So that's just an announcement, and that information will be online as well for the next meeting, the new public address requirements. Okay, and yeah, please remember to mute your microphones if you are not trying to speak. So our first item of business is the adoption of the agenda. And I did add, we were just discussing this before we started the meeting. I did add an item to the agenda, and this is the item on, this is the item on student member recruitment. But given what we just, well, yeah, so let's just leave that on the agenda for now unless someone wants to, has a problem with it and wants to make a motion to take it off. Does that make sense? So does anyone want to make a motion to take off that new item that I added? It's the item on student member recruitment. Diane, are you speaking? You're muted. Oh.
I'm sorry, I don't have that agenda. Did you change the agenda before the meeting today? Did you change the one you said? Okay, I apologize because I printed it and it's not on there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so no one's making a motion to to change that. So do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? If you want me to show the agenda, I can share my screen and show it. I'll do that. Hold on one second. Let's see. Okay, I guess I'm sharing. So here's the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt this agenda?
Can you scroll down to the part that you added?
This is the part I added. It's just discussing what we wanted to do with regards to recruiting a new student member since one member is graduating this year.
I make the motion.
Thank you. And who was that?
Marty.
Okay,
Hale.
thank you. And do I have a second?
I'll second it. It's Amy.
Thank you. So any discussion? Okay, so we're going to vote on the motion to adopt the agenda, and we're going to use a voice vote, so you can unmute yourselves. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed, please say no. Okay, so the agenda has been adopted.
Can I ask who's taking our notes tonight since Emily's driving?
Na is taking our notes,
The note
Okay.
right now.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So may I know which Marty first motion? Marty Graham or?
Marty Hale.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, we couldn't hear you. Okay. So our next item of business is the opportunity for public address, and I'm pretty sure we do not have any. I'm trying to find, pretty sure we do not have any people signed up for public address. I'm trying to find it. Oh, wait, just 1 second. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, so we don't have anybody signed up for public address. Just as a quick reminder, our public address period is governed by school board policy, and the guidelines for addressing the GAC are linked in the agenda and on the GAC website. I won't go through all the detailed requirements. So our next item is meeting minutes, approval of our last, our minutes for our last meeting. And oh yeah, I don't need to share that probably. So this is the minutes for the meeting of March 9th, 2021, and they were provided in advance as a link on the agenda. Does anyone want to make a motion to make any corrections to the minutes? Okay. And, okay, so do I have a motion to approve the minutes of March 9th, 2021?
This is Terry. I'll move that we accept the minutes as is.
Okay, thank you. And do I have a second?
I'll second it. It's Amy.
Thank you. So all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Okay, so the minutes are approved. Okay, so the next item I had on the agenda was contact information for GAC members. So basically, essentially, it's been cumbersome to interact with each other through the GAC Google Group account. We don't know each other's email addresses. I don't actually even know everyone's email addresses. So GAC leadership is suggesting that we create a contact list. It would just list GAC members' names and email addresses. The one complication is that I've been told that any document we create does need to be available to the public. So I think what would happen if we went through with our contact list is that we would just have that as a Google Doc and link it to the GAC website. and that would provide the public access to that document. And I just want to mention that if people are worried about having their email out there, my email is actually listed on the website currently and has been for several months, and I have not gotten any emails as a result of that listing. So that was just an aside, but so yeah, so does anyone want to discuss, does anyone like have a problem with the plan to have our emails available to each other, which would also involve them technically being available to the public as well? I see people shaking their heads that they do not have a problem. Okay. Okay, so if that's the case, I just want to make this formal then. Can I have a motion to create this list of GAC member names and email addresses?
I move that that you create a GAC listing of email addresses to be shared with members.
Okay, thank you.
Marty Hale seconds.
That's Cheryl
Okay.
Burrell Graves making
Okay.
the motion.
Does anyone want to discuss before we vote? Okay, so we're gonna.
Anna, what we would do, I think what we've done in the past is I'll have Lori, my administrative assistant, I'll ask her to take your names. We already have a list of your names, and then we have your email addresses that you sent on your forms. I think we should send it out to the GAC members to see if that's the correct email before we post it.
That sounds great. Yeah. Yes, we can coordinate to send that out and check with people if it looks correct. Okay.
Can someone please repeat the motion again, please?
Sure, nah. This is Cheryl Burrell Graves. I made a motion. I move that we create a document that will be shared with each other of email addresses.
Okay, so now we'll go ahead and take our vote. If you're voting yes, you're in favor of creating this shared document of email addresses. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, and if there are any opposed, please say no. Okay, so so the motion passes. All right, so the next item is so this is the one I added. This was discussion of student member recruitment. And I know we kind of discussed it before the meeting, but let's just quickly say it again. So one of our student DIC members is graduating, and so we would like to have a student member to replace him for next year. And so we'll need to have that name that we want to recommend as a new student member ready by June so that the school board can take a look at it and approve. So between now and our next meeting, which is our last meeting, we need to sort of advertise or get names for student members. And so it was recommended, it was discussed, or not, anyway, it was suggested that the best way to do this would be to just have the GRTs personally ask students who might be interested. I don't think we need to take a formal vote on this, but does that sound good to everybody?
Anna, I have a question.
Yes.
Does this student need to come from a certain strand or just anywhere in the district?
Oh, that's a good point.
If I may, Anna, we need to probably look in the Christiansburg strand first. We need to make sure that we're following the guidelines that the school board gave us. We're having that balance of all four areas. So if our student would change, then I think we would need to change another person as well. So my recommendation would be we would reach out in the Christiansburg strand for a student first. And then if we can't find one, then the GAC can make a recommendation.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Yeah.
Did I
If we
answer?
can-
Right, so you want to be replacing from the strand that they're graduating from.
Right.
Yeah, which is Christiansburg.
Right.
Okay.
What if no one steps up from Christiansburg? Or, I know, some students are asked and they all say they're not interested. I mean,
I think
seems-
you cross that bridge when you come to it. Don't make it any more complicated than it has to be.
yeah, okay. I just,
You've got 2 months, so you're good to go.
so unfortunately, our last meeting, you probably weren't aware of this, but we have only one more meeting scheduled in May. We do not have a meeting scheduled in June.
Okay,
So
then you still have a month. You'll be fine. Your DRTs will take care of you.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
just know that I will move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so finally, we have our update from the gifted program, and Diane will present.
I have a couple of updates, and I wanted to thank you, Anna, as our chair, and the board for allowing me to update on this program that's happened in the last month.
Diane,
Yes,
I'm having a little trouble hearing you. I don't know if everybody is.
did I
kind
raise
of-
my voice? I'm at my new monitors with the sound bar, and we tested it all today. I took myself off mute. Not good?
It's just like it's faint. Your voice is faint.
Okay. Can I speak up and yell?
Yell to us.
Okay, so I wanted to thank the members that have followed us on Twitter. You've been able to see some of the projects that we've done this month. So I see your names pop up, and you are sending those pictures out. So I appreciate all you've done there. Second, we are in the middle of our service project about Max's camp out. And I'll post more after more of the students do more of the projects next month. We see things that are happening for the animal shelter. We see things that have happened for the resource centers. So we're still real excited about the projects that the students are planning on doing. Southwest Virginia Governor's School, we had 17 students that applied. We anticipate that we'll notify them of acceptance within 2 weeks. Right now, we're waiting for our juniors to tell us if they're returning. So we have a limited number of spots. And so knowing who will be returning will help us decide who will be able to, how many spots we'll have available. Excited about our summer programs. We've moved to in-person phase 3, level 3, the middle school camp, the drone camp. We went from 24 participants to 32 because we can have those and fly drones in the gym and outside at CMS. So we're really excited about the drones, and the students get to take the drones home. So they are really excited about that camp. Camp Invention, what's happened there is our students that were remote, which were 5, have now come in person, and they've raised our numbers so that we have 130 students. We're going to move to a multi-age camp, and we'll have an additional 30 teachers, student interns, and then middle school volunteers. So we're real excited about camp this year. And one new thing is that we have our ACE students that are our graduates, and they have to look for volunteer hours. And so several of MCPS ACE students are going to be our leadership interns. So they'll get 40 hours of volunteering. So we're real excited about that.
All right.
Yeah. Anna, did you hear me?
Yeah, yes. Just making sure you were finished. I thought you were finished, but.
Okay, yeah, I feel like I'm yelling in the screen.
Yeah, no, I could hear it. Hopefully, everyone could. Oh, no, it looks like Carl went out of the meeting. If there's a waiting room, just check it, please. Okay, so yeah, thanks Diane for that update. And now you're on the spot again because you are presenting our the Gifted Programs Annual Review of Effectiveness Report. And I know you asked me to stream share as you talk, correct?
Okay, can I speak again? So what we've done, I want to spend less time because you've had an opportunity to see this. And then I really appreciate the work that the GRTs did in taking the work that they've done all year and then putting it in this way so that it's easy for the GAC to see what we've done, our progress, our goals, and then our next steps as a staff. And then you guys can decide then what your recommendations are from there.
The right thing. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
We had 5 questions that came to me after this was sent out. 3 are talking about, and I'll let Anna, if there's a question that Anna needs to be able to speak about, I'll let her do that. But I'd like to talk about those in the section that is in the progress. Maybe that'll be easier for GAC members to see that on the screen. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then we had 2 other questions. And again, Anna sent me those, but they were from a document that she had read about one piece of curriculum that we do. And so I'll try to answer those 2 questions when we get to the section about curriculum. So hopefully I can do a quick review, try to keep it under 20 minutes of what the GRTs did. And then you all can then start your work. And then if you have other questions for me, I can address it then. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
And I guess we sort of emailed about this, but what's that?
We see your email instead of.
Sorry, I was just going back to check. So I'm sorry I shared that. Okay. Yeah. Now where was I? Jeez, I'm just not good with this. But yeah. If people have like a burning question, I think you mentioned it's okay to interrupt you. Sorry, let me just, I can't remember which tab. I have so many tabs open. Here it is. Okay. And I'll make that bigger.
I think I can do it by section. And then if there's questions by section, if that's helpful.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah. Am I showing the right thing now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So under program goals and objectives, that talks about cluster grouping, talks about class lists, talks about co-planning and co-taught classes. Our next steps is after the, we do this process every year. So we have to put it on our goals every year because the principals will then move forward to build those lists. And our cluster teachers are really important for us for delivering curriculum. So that's why that's an important piece for us. There was one question I think that came about how do we make sure that the guidelines or policies sort of addressing differentiation, how does that happen and how do principals get that? This is where that happens. So the division sends out, or I send out through the division, the guidelines for clustering and what the cluster teacher, how much differentiation, or what we expect, not how much differentiation, but that there is an expectation of differentiation. And that whole document goes to every principal, and then principals use that as a guideline for putting their class lists together. So I think the question was there like a guideline or was there policy? I don't think there's a policy, but there are guidelines. And I think our principals do a good job of putting those lists together. If you look at the list this year, it was a little different because we went back to school in a different phase. And so we have students that were clustered differently. But moving forward in 21, 22, I don't anticipate any problems or issues with clustering students. Okay. I think that's the objective 2 there talks about cluster students with teachers who understand and apply the theories of differentiation. So we had a question again that says, what are those guidelines and how often do teachers differentiate? And I think we had done a discussion about this last time. There's guidelines for classroom teachers, and those guidelines have the pieces that they need for their instruction, and lesson plans, etc., are examined by principals. And so that's how that process happens. Not just for teachers of gifted students, but all teachers in Montgomery County. Have I answered all there that we can move on? All right, Anna, can you move on to the next one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, objective 3 was using language arts curriculum in English, such as the William and Mary Language Arts Model. This shows you all the things that we did. The GRTs listed the names of the units they used. They also this year correlated our language arts work. That's the second paragraph with the benchmark curriculum. The third paragraph talks about our curriculum map and that how we use some of the pieces of learning or Jacob's Ladder pieces. So those are some of the names. Other than William and Mary, those are pieces of curriculum that we use. And then part of our work for, it's not just diversity, but in adding our units, our middle school units have gone through some change, and as with our 7th and 8th grade honors courses. So we wrote there about the development of some units and resource materials that we are just starting this year. We did some piloting, and more of that will happen next year. So when you see what the next steps are, again, because we have a new reading program, we need to find more ways that we can support our classroom teachers. On that middle school level, we need to address more novels or extend to more schools. And then lastly, the GRTs added. This year, we probably didn't have as many teachers that were able to use some of that William and Mary curriculum, and that was based on our return to school model. So they put that in as one of their objectives as well. All right, if you want to move on. Objective 4 focused on math. And we have a new math series that's Go Math Curriculum. And we started this work before we finished writing the plan because the classroom teachers came to us and said, we have a new math program, we need help. And so we started a small group before school ended last year, probably in the development of the plan. So it was probably February. And you can see that we started to review curriculum. We purchased new materials. I listed for you the materials that we purchased. We had grade level teams and small group participants. Emily was on this small group, as was the math supervisor for Montgomery County Schools. This year, we had to digitize a lot of this work so that our students at home would be able to use that. So the DRTs added that. We provided cluster teachers with the math extensions. And then at the end there, just slide down just a little bit, Anna, the middle school level. We started this at Blacksburg Middle, and we see that moving to other places, but where Blacksburg Middle GRT, she started using some of these same manipulatives for understanding graphing and some of those three-dimensional shapes. So if you'll go back up to what we did, application-based extensions, I think that is something that also came from the team. And I think GAC members, and Emily, you can speak to this as well, is this year we got this information and we got the pieces. And thank you again, Emily, for the work you did for just getting the lessons. And she did some intro to lessons for us as well. But now we need to go back and look at what's on there and make sure that we really have the application-based extensions on there. So the DRTs added that. We need to start the year with some professional development for our classroom teachers. So especially our new cluster teachers will know that this resource exists. We'll need to find more, share more, whatever we can use. And then always we need to evaluate those materials and our middle school resources just to make sure we've got extensions there for 6, 7, 8 algebra and geometry. Emily, did you want to speak?
Sorry, I was trying to make sure the attendance was right. Yes, I mean, just, I guess, was there something in particular you wanted me to
No,
speak?
I just wanted to know if I've sort of covered everything that I think as a committee, we were at baby steps and beginning steps and getting it out. And now, you know, it's not finished. It's a document that's going to continue to evolve next year.
Yes, and hopefully this summer I intend to help make some more intro videos when hopefully things die down from the school year. And so that will be helpful, even though teachers hopefully won't need as many virtual things. It would still, I think, be helpful for them to be able to just post a video and then fill in the gaps from there. So kind of
Thank you.
to
And I know
refine.
Amy's been on that committee and Marty's been helping with the middle school piece. So lots of GRTs have been part of this. The GRTs actually broke themselves up into small groups and took grade levels. And so this year they've spent a lot of time trying to make sure that we've got resources there for classroom teachers, which means we'll have resources for our students. All right, can you move down, Anna? Objective 5 talks about the middle and high school. And here I just told you more about how many students had applied for Summer Governor's School and then also Southwest Virginia Governor's School. There's an extra piece in there that the staff would like to do next year. So in addition to just who applied, we always, or in my position, it's I serve the 4 high schools, and we go out and we extend the opportunity to all 4 of the high schools equally, but sometimes we don't have equal participation. So I think we need to make sure that we're looking at that governor's school opportunity to ensure equitable access for all. So the staff, we added that piece in there for that. And then we thought this would be the year that we would collect division data. And what we want to do is start looking at where our gifted middle school students and high school students, are they enrolled in our advanced level classes? And that would be honors, AP, and our dual enrollment. And we weren't able to really get a good handle on that this year with the phase we entered school, but we'll start that data collection. We would like to start that data collection next year. All right, Anna, would you slide up just a little bit? Any questions there? Okay. Objective 6 talked about online options to provide instruction. That was all over Montgomery County Schools, but it was one of our pieces that we wanted to make sure that if our students needed extensions, that there was another way other than their classroom Google Classroom. So again, you can see that we made some improvements or changes to the website. I skipped one. The middle school, they were invited to participate in extensions, weekly extensions. Activities included the contest, social emotional, Jacob's Ladder. We put all those things in there so that you as the GAC members could see those. On the website, we put the new, what's new, what can you do if you have more time pieces, so that our students at home that just had half-day instruction, that they would have something to do as part of their half-day. Part at the bottom there talks a little bit about the middle school. Marty is serving, and we have a lot more than Marty, but she's on this group. But she and Amy both are part of piece that we do for identification, but also something that we do to make sure that we're working in the direction of equity that we want to be in. And so Marty and Leslie, at the end of the square, you'll see they actually developed a unit for Ghost Boys, and we piloted that this year. So if you go back to our recommendations, you know, we're using those MCPS questions to make sure that whatever we're producing now, you know, follows the guidelines for making sure that nothing is biased and making sure that we have equity for all students. So if you look in back up to the top where it says additional novel units, we see that that will be moved to all middle schools instead of just where we piloted at MCP at Christiansburg Middle, but we could also add titles. And so my team, the middle school TRTs are really ready to move forward with that as well. This might be a good place. We talk about, Anna had shared 2 questions with me about sort of this. I'm not sure if the good place is non-STEM projects, but when we're talking about, Anna, you can help me here. This is a place that we would talk about what we do as far as coding, or how we make sure that our curricula includes social sciences, social justice. You think this is the place?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So, do you want me to explain, or do you go ahead?
Sure, that would be fine.
Okay, so these are kind of two questions, or like comments and questions that were brought up by a parent, but I thought they were interesting, and like it could be useful to discuss them and think about them. So the first was about coding, and I think the parent's point was that that it seems like there's a focus on engineering and robotics and basically the STEM fields when coding is taught. And so I think her idea was students, maybe especially females, I don't know, perception of coding might be like biased by that, oh, this is just STEM and this is not for me or something. I don't know. But so she was just saying like coding can be used for all types of creative purposes, and it might attract more students to be interested to want to do something like this if you just make sure to sometimes use other projects other than STEM projects when you're doing coding, like
So
yeah.
Anna, I will repeat that question and then I'll answer that in the iLead part that has coding. So the other question I thought that sort of fit here was the curricula that promotes discussion of social science, social justice.
Yeah, and I think definitely the new novel units you guys are working on are pretty spot on there to help kids think about these issues like critically. But yeah, I mean, she was asking about, she would like to see more emphasis on activities, projects, or curricula that promote discussion of social sciences, social justice, and just thinking about perspectives that of underrepresented groups, I guess. And yeah, so I don't know if there's anything be done at the elementary level or if people think it's appropriate to do this at an elementary level, but I thought it might be something we could discuss.
So I sent that question out to the GRTs, and so can I go over their responses? And so
Yeah.
Anna, you might even take notes, or since nobody's adding to this document. The question was, describe any activities or curricula that promote discussion of social sciences, social justice, or seeking out perspectives from different groups. So one bullet was that we do both the secondary and elementary William and Mary units, they do that. And they do that in their lessons, and they do that through their discussion and their writing. And then secondly, we have students from kindergarten through 8th grade do independent projects. And this allows the students to do their project around perspectives of different groups and social justice. So we've really encouraged that this year. So I think that happens in the work we do. I think this was a third bullet that came from the GRTs, that these are woven through the lessons. So you won't see, I don't even think at middle school level, say today we're going to talk about social justice. But what happens in the story brings out the discussion, and the classroom teacher, English teacher, and the cluster teacher and the GRT then are able to weave those pieces in. So we feel like we've got that in our curriculum as well. When you get to the bottom of what the GRTs do within their pullout program, they added that the mindset, multiple intelligences, this also talks about individual differences, and it teaches students to respect all differences. So I think, again, that was a good point. Lastly, they wrote about the Think Law curriculum, and that gives our students practice at seeking out perspectives. We purchased that curriculum for this purpose. And for our primary kids, they get to analyze multiple perspectives in folk tales, fairy tales, nursery rhymes. But the upper elementary and middle, they do real life legal cases. So I think the gifted staff, they underlined this and exclamated it and said that they think this curriculum that we're using is really helps our students to be fair and equitable. So it's really having good discussion. Any GRTs want to add to that?
Diane, I think you did a good job. I'm just going to say that I did a Think Law with my first grade group this past week, and she absolutely loved it. We were analyzing tough situations and looking at multiple perspectives. So we have to finish it up next week, but she really enjoyed learning about the old lady that swallowed the fly.
Thanks, Amy.
Diane, I think I was going to say at the middle school, Ghost Boys, it's a great book. If any of you guys you should read it because it gives you lots of perspectives, and the kids, it was the first time it was used, and some teachers are a little nervous. They go, well, what about the tough questions? What about when we have discussions that are things that, people kind of shy away from? But we have to trust our kids because they are amazing. And as long as we can help them work through the thoughts and look at different perspectives, I think it's amazing. And I'm so excited. And Stacy, I'm glad you're here too, because we have a lot of work to do, but we're doing it. So, yes.
Thank you, Marty. Will you slide down, Anna, to about goal B? Goal B, if you all look at the work that is all about our alternate, we're not even calling it alternative model anymore. This is our delivery of service model. And so we had a lot of goals. The state, when they looked at with our plan, they said, tell us more about this. So we put more goals in our plan and we added more description about iLead in the plan. So you'll see more there. The multi-age group was not permitted at the beginning of the school year due to the instructional phase. So starting February, March, we started having some pulling back into the gifted resource teacher, but all of our schools didn't follow through with the iLead curriculum this year. But we're moving forward with all schools next year. All schools did review their proposals, principles, and we're ready for implementation. Independent projects. If you look at that second box across from objective 2, they all did a PBL. Then we made a goal for that as well. So we're going to figure out what's the best way next year to include the independent project. And then we're always looking. Amy's been a person that's helped us. Amy and Helen have been instrumental. And Amy's going to talk a little more probably about the middle school model, but have been really good about let's keep looking about what's out there to include in our curriculum. When you see the various styles of leadership, it talks about a box there. We'll continue the leadership instruction. It's multifaceted and uses lots of different curriculum. And then lastly, just slide up just a little bit. Objective 4 talks about, okay, so what we need to do is we evaluate and refine the model. And we're very lucky that we have Miss Vangelos here on the GAC, because when she was in Montgomery County Schools, she was also helpful in designing the model. So I know she can help with that too. And then we'll continue to develop a framework for the 21-22 school year. So we have a lot of work to do in getting all those pieces together to make sure that we have an equitable program and equitable access to all our students. Objective 1 here talks about the middle school model. Our middle school teachers have moved into a model where they felt like they were not seeing all the gifted students. And so they have looked for another model that they would like to use for 6th graders. So Amy, would you like to talk about that or want me to do it and then you add?
Go ahead and I'll add. Thanks.
Okay. So I'm really excited about this because we learned about this at the National Association for Gifted and also VAG Gifted Association. So you can see the steps. One of the pieces of the middle school model is a program called Lead for Change. And we shared that with Dr. Meyer last year. And he said, yes, this sounds like a great thing for our middle school. And then it's a way to do service learning for our high school students. So you can see all that we did. We looked at curriculum, we bought things, we're still reviewing them. We're still creating that scope and sequence. We're a year behind because we didn't move forward this year. And then for next year, we'll write that scope and sequence. We'll evaluate all those new materials and move forward. Amy?
I think you covered it, but if anybody has questions, I can answer them.
And the last part, I guess, talks about, this is where I could actually add the coding piece in, Anna. Curriculum instructions. So we need to supplement the divisions, English and math, to meet the needs of gifted learners. So what happens is our students can work a little quicker sometimes, or they can have their curriculum compacted for them. And so if they finish work or when they come to the GRT, then we have separate curricula for them. So this is part of that work. And so you'll see that we either did it this year through a push-in, pull-out model or virtually through Google Meet. You'll see that we developed curricula maps for elementary gifted. You'll see that part. And that's where you'll see pieces of learning, think law, Jacob's ladder, math curricula, critical thinking, and then the neuroscience. So Anna, this would be a place I think I would interject that parent's question about coding.
Yeah.
Please describe any non-STEM projects that are offered during coding. And what the GRTs have said, oh, do any students include an examination of bias and risks and how to work toward inclusive technologies? So I sent it out to the GRTs this morning just to get their responses. And again, I want to reach out to the parent because again, I and GRTs thought about this for our students with disabilities. We make sure that we have software and hardware adaptations to support learning differences for our 2E students. We follow all guidelines for special ed with our gifted students. So all of that, we make sure that happens. Our GRTs aren't doing as much coding as they used to because we have STEM teachers now. So the STEM teachers are introducing the sites, and then our coding is more just to support what STEM does, or we might use the inclusive technologies as you interweave some of the pieces that we do. So, and I want you to leave the curricula up as I get to this part. So what the GRTs do is they integrate technology and STEM into the units that you see on the screen. For example, the 4th or 5th graders did a project focused on the biography of a leader. Well, then they integrated the use of green screen and ink, and they created products using Scratch. They used travel through a story. So again, our pieces are integrated, not necessarily for the question about STEM. One GRT responded about coding units and using CS first. So again, we review those units to make sure that we're making sure that we're examining biases. Scratch, if you're thinking about our non-white students, offers lots of skin tones and differently abled individuals that helps bring out a conversation about students. And then lastly, the GRT said, they think in our coding units, we do think about equitable and fair use, but I think about the bias and algorithms if you're talking about social media and hiring platforms and whether coding is favoring men or women. I'm not sure that we're doing that level in our elementary or even middle school. I think that's more or less embedded in our high school or our cybersecurity pieces. So I think if the GAC wants more information on that, we would need to reach out to the high school coding. Anna, do you think I answered that?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and the last part, I think I'm done. Am I at the bottom, Anna? Yep.
Yes, we got to the bottom.
All right.
Great.
Thank you for reading, following along, and allowing me to report what the gifted program has done this year.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that report, and all the GRTs too who helped to put it together and answer the questions. Okay. Does anyone want to discuss, or are there any questions that came up that you want to ask? Okay.
A question that I have specifically about the report is, well, maybe we need to review first, like what our role is and what the format of the report that we're going to draft to share. There's a few pieces, like a few wording that I think maybe we could clarify some places, but maybe that comes up in our report and not in this report.
I'm not sure.
So I use too many words. If we can review what the GAC, how we plan to develop our report, and then I can see if I need to follow up with my question.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah. So let's move on. That's basically the next agenda item. So this is our final agenda item. Our work relating to the GAC annual report. So let me see. I'm gonna go back to our, what are we supposed to do? So I'm gonna look at our bylaws. So this is on page 2 of the bylaws. It says that we are supposed to jointly develop a written report on the extent to which the local plan was implemented in the previous year, and recommendations the GAC has approved to be reviewed by the school board and the superintendent. So we're supposed to include in our report any comments on, basically, any comments on like how the local plan was implemented. And so that part will include references and I guess summarizing some of what we've learned from Diane's report. But then as a second part, we also can make recommendations. So if we agree that it would be good to do some additional things, or we agree that it's good to continue doing what they've already been doing, we can put that as a recommendation.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I just got a message for me to put a headset on. Can you hear me better?
Sounds good to me.
No, Diane, it's still hard to hear you.
I got a
Kind of worse.
Worse? Okay.
A little bit worse. It's muffled.
Okay. I'm taking the headset off.
I'll just say one more thing. This is like a couple of sentences, and this is actually directly from the Code of Virginia. So this is like the law relating to the local gifted advisory committee. A local advisory committee on gifted education shall annually review the local plan for the education of gifted students, including revisions, determine the extent to which the plan for the previous year was implemented. The comments and recommendations of the local advisory committee on gifted education shall be submitted in writing directly to the school board and superintendent. So the Code of Virginia says that we provide comments and recommendations. But definitely it's based on what we've learned from Diane. But we can use our own ideas to come up with recommendations if there's something that we want to suggest. And that doesn't mean that the division has to do it and by any means. It's just like, we're trying to help out by like brainstorming and coming up with things. Like that's.
Anna, I think I may disagree with your interpretation.
Uh-huh.
I'm looking at the page that we have, that's section 2 of our bylaws that quotes the Code of Virginia. And it says the findings of the annual program's effectiveness and the recommendations. But I don't interpret that as us, committee of lay people are making a recommendation of what our educators should do. I am interpreting that as recommendations referring specifically to the gifted department's evaluation of progress.
Well, nothing in the code says it has to be specifically relating to the report that the gifted program has provided. And I'll just mention that I have a couple of reports from other communities, gifted advisory committees. And just as an example, here's one from Arlington, Virginia. And so their report said, we recommend the APS direct middle school teachers to pilot an intensified English 7 course at all middle schools. So like they're saying, what, you know, here's an idea, maybe an intensified English course for middle schoolers. And then
not being able to see the full report. And if you have a link to that, it might be helpful for all of us to be able to see the format that others are written. But not seeing that, I don't know if the evaluation from the Arlington gifted department has mentioned that, or if it's just something out of the blue.
I guess I'm not quite following what you're saying, Terry. Like, what would be the point in commenting on how they collected I don't know.
I see our role as a support for the gifted department and our gifted students. We're advocates for our gifted students. And I mean, we're a committee of lay people. Many of us are educators, but we're community members and parents. And so for us to say what our educators should be doing, if it's not something that they have said that's already on their list. I mean, this list that we have of their next steps is extensive. So why are we adding to their list?
I guess
let me add to that, Terry. You know, you guys also have to fall under the strategic plan that's been approved by the board. And the all advisory committees that report to the board are there for checks and balances. You know, did the gifted team follow what they had in their plan, and you know, what were the successes from that, and what were the things that maybe need to be tweaked? So the gifted advisory is a checks and balances only. They are not there to tell the gifted folks who are the professionals what needs to stay and go or change.
I agree.
I don't agree. I agree that it's important to have a role in checks and balances. That is the first part of what's in our report, is kind of checks and balances. Things that are successes and maybe things that maybe need to be tweaked. But then the second part is recommendations. The word recommendations is used again and again. It's in the Code of Virginia that we provide, number 1, comments, and number 2, recommendations. And like I said, like, it by no means means that we are directing the school system to do that. We are just like trying to help by making suggestions. Like yeah. I don't understand.
Anna, I have a comment.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm new to this committee for now because it's changed a lot. But to me, I see the committee as being a group of people from all parts that come together and kind of evaluate what's going on, talk about, oh, what if we did this? It doesn't mean that the recommendations have to be followed, but I agree that it brings new ideas in. It makes people work together for the common good of our program. So I'm not sure, I don't know. I mean, I feel like a recommendation in of itself, particularly if it applies to what's happening. I don't mean, well, you should read this book or you should do this and be very specific on curriculum. But I do think it's a way for all of us to come together as teachers, as administrators, as parents, to kind of figure out, you know, how do we move forward? And I think we're doing a lot of stuff really well, but there could be something out there that somebody has an idea. So I do feel like all the voices should be heard, I guess.
Barbara, Dr. Wickham has put something in the chat about the Code of Virginia.
Yes, I just went to the website and I copied and pasted in the actual wording from the Code of Virginia. And the Code of Virginia does give exactly 2 responsibilities to the committee. And they're listed there word for word. I'm visual. It's important for me to have it in front of me. And it says to review annually the local plan for the education of gifted students, including revisions, and to determine the extent to which the plan for the previous year was implemented. So those are the 2 responsibilities under the code. And again, it just helps me to have it in front of me.
And we had no revisions this year. We got the plan administered a little late in the year, and so there may be some revisions next year that we would bring to the GAC. But this year, I have no revisions that I plan to move forward with the school board.
Well, why don't we, start actually discussing the content of what we want to put in our report. And maybe this recommendations thing will be less controversial if we actually start talking about, well, what would the recommendations be if we made some recommendation statements. So, So I think the report could be organized by different ways. I mean, one way is to go through, basically organize it according to Diane's report, or we could focus on, or we could decide on core issues, like equity related to curriculum, or I don't know, or just like, and then organize it that way. But I think it'll be good to have just 3 or 4 like main sections, so it's like easily read and understood, like what we want to get across to the school board and the superintendent. So I guess we can look at Diane's document again. It's here, let me share it again. It has a lot of different sections. So I guess that's why I'm thinking, can we extract like 3 or 4 things we want to say, like comments we want to make about what the program is doing? I guess just to go scroll through it real quick. We've got delivery of services, which is about clustering and differentiation. And then it's got some detail on the language arts curriculum and the math curriculum.
So
Middle.
can I ask another question about the format of our report? Are we planning to, or is the plan to give this is it 6-page, 7-page document to the school board, and then we have a report that accompanies that, or is ours in isolation and they don't necessarily see this? We're just reporting out from there? What's that?
Believe you're going to see this. And then we produce a separate report. Is that correct? Is that what other people understand as well, Diane? Or
I think you could do it either way. I think that using this report, this is a good thing to share. I think the GRTs would be fine with us sharing what we shared with you, and then you using our report to create your own document, again, based on this, or using what you said to make sure that that has the big ideas. So you might have an instruction. I mean, you might be able to find your big ideas through these. We divided it by the goals, and then the GRTs took out everything in the goals that had to do with curriculum. We didn't put all those pieces in that had to do with, I think there was something you were talking about, equity or bias. I didn't include those. We have goals for those, but I didn't include all that in there. And that's maybe why you had the questions that you did.
I think it might be much simpler if you can stick with the same format that Gifted uses and add you a 4th column that lists the advisories recommendation. I mean, not recommendation, but I'm sorry, not recommendations, but their analysis as to whether Gifted followed this plan, and which is what your responsibility is. What was the plan followed and implemented correctly?
Yeah, I mean, we can do that, but then we'd also need a separate report that talks about our recommendations. And also I don't want people to feel like they are limited to talk about just the kinds of things that were here, because a part of our discussion last time was about I don't know, you could call it accountability issues, like teachers and principals being accountable for doing differentiation and stuff. And that's
right, but that's really outside of
something we can address if we want to.
That's really outside of the Gifted's purview, though.
It's not outside.
Well, that giving you an explanation of how that works, it is. What you need to stick with are your 2 responsibilities. Review the annual local plan of the education of gifted students, including revisions, which Ms. Knapp said there weren't any revisions, and to determine the extent to which the plan for the previous year was implemented.
Yes, and
those
give
are
guidance on
responsibilities.
recommendations based on. What's that?
Recommendations are not in the 2 responsibilities for the Gifted advisory. It just
after it gives the 2, then there's another sentence that says the report should include basically our analysis, and then use the word analysis, but our analysis of those 2 plus our recommendations.
Well, if we're just talking about formatting of our report, I like the suggestion of adding a 4th column. I think that in the 3rd column, the next steps, some of the questions that Diane addressed they could add in some of those notes about different things that that she shared with us. But then the fourth column can include where we report on how effectively the plan was carried out and if there are recommendations that the committee decides on as a whole.
Right, and you could do that just as a summary.
Okay, but they may not fall into one of these program goals and objectives.
Right, and you can do that just as a summary. But remember, it has to fall.
I'm sorry, Marty, go ahead.
That's okay. You can do that just as a summary, but remember, these objectives and goals have to meet the strategic plan.
And Anna, you all decided as a group, and this is what we turned into because it's a 5-year plan, and it's so intensive, and we're going to spend the next 5 years looking at the plan. I thought that the GAC decided to focus on curriculum this year. That's why I reported on curriculum.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just saying that it's curriculum and instruction. Was curriculum and instruction, right? So if we want to say, I mean, we can say something about differentiation, which is not a curriculum issue, it's an instruction issue. I'm just saying we don't necessarily have to be limited to exactly these goals and objectives.
I think we do. I think as a committee, we decided that we did limit ourselves.
To curriculum and instruction, yes. But not to looking just at not to just summarizing a report that was given to us, which seems to be what.
We're not summarizing the report. I see that we need to report on whether the goals were effectively implemented. And in a few places, the answer is going to be no, because the gifted department was restricted based on COVID regulations. So, I mean, there are some places where it's not going to be a glowing report, but the division was limited in a lot of the activities and some of the ways that services were delivered.
Yeah, definitely. And personally, I'm impressed with a lot of what they've done this year. But if we want to be, add to it and if we want to add to it, I have some specific ideas. I mean, instead of just talking about what we can or cannot put in the report, let me just give you a couple of examples of ideas that I had. And of course, you guys don't need to agree with it, but for example, and this is something that's been recommended year after year, but we can emphasize maybe that having more GRTs can help with curriculum and instruction. More GRTs mean more GRT time for co-teaching and co-planning, which is at the core of the program. So, I mean, that's one recommendation. Sorry.
And sorry, my phone. That's definitely in support of the program. And I mean, I think that all the GRTs and Diane would recommend that also. Just, I also understand that the school board's hands are somewhat tied on that issue, but sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease or the oil, or I forget the expression.
Yeah.
Gets the attention. Let's go with that. I mean.
So, I mean, if we do a big ideas, organization, then that will stand out. It's one of the big ideas is having more GRTs is really, really going to help this program.
But I think that does, you had said that you didn't think, or some of your suggestions were outside of realm of what's addressed. But I do think that is addressed, and it definitely could be included.
Okay.
In, like, I can find the specific section and objective. So that's something that definitely we can include.
Okay.
And I double checked the notes from last meeting. It was curriculum and instruction. So just to back up what Anna had said there, it wasn't just curriculum. But I mean, they're kind of the same. I mean, the curriculum guides the instruction, so.
Yeah. And then just to continue, since I'm speaking, we learned, like, I think I asked a lot of questions last time about accountability, and I learned a lot about, you know, the Section 7 teacher evaluations and how differentiation is valued. So I wonder if we can put something about that in the report, and emphasize that, I mean, you guys are doing a lot to try to make sure that differentiation is occurring, and occurring, like, consistently. And then to like, you know, I was like, okay, that's something good, but what can I add to that? And so one thing I thought we, you know, could be a recommendation is, like, I don't know. I mean, this is just like a brainstorming thing, but, like, can we come up with, like, a little, I don't know, so like almost like an advertisement for Gifted, and just, like, re-emphasize the principles that this is, you know, differentiation is especially important for our gifted students, and just kind of, like, encourage principals to, like, keep doing what they're doing, and maybe even and just have even more attention to it. I don't know if that even makes sense, but just, like, make sure it's encouraged throughout the division, because I know that the people who are here in this group are passionate and are doing it, but it seems like it wasn't clear that all principals are, like, emphasizing this. So can we advertise to all principals and make sure they're doing it?
You guys can't really do that. You can say, like, in the category where differentiation is in Ms. Knapp's report, you can say, you know, continue to ensure that differentiation is happening, but this is also covered in the strategic plan. So that is already being followed. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, as the saying goes. So all you can do is say continue to, in that column that matches the differentiation, is continue to encourage and support differentiation.
And that would be at, like, on the page 1 of the report that the gifted staff gave us. Delivery of services is in the first column, and then progress and next steps. And they said that administration recommend that classroom teachers are consulted prior to getting the cluster. And so in our GAC column on that same page, that's where we emphasize the importance that we believe that should hold.
Exactly, Terry. That's the way to say it. You know, the recommendation you made about adding more DRTs, it is the perfect explanation of what a recommendation you can do. As far as, you know, holding everybody's nose to the grindstone, you know, that's not something you can do other than say continue to encourage type of thing.
I also copied and pasted in some language from the evaluation doc that we're required to use from the VDOE. We do have an evaluation doc for all of our certified staff. And under planning, you'll see the first bullet, 2.3, consistently plans for differentiated instruction. And under 3.2, which is a teacher performance standard that speaks to instruction, it says the teacher differentiates the instructional content, process, product, and learning environment to meet individual developmental needs. So this is in our performance evaluation tool from the VDOE, that when principals conduct formal evaluations like we discussed last time, that this is the specific performance standards and performance indicators that they are to look for when they do go into the classroom.
Okay.
Yes, if I may ask, I've been listening this whole time. I'm curious as to where does the concern or belief come from that differentiation is not happening, or that principals somehow need a reminder? I think it was you, Anna, who said that you weren't sure that all principals were emphasizing that. Where does that belief?
I think that comes from anecdotal evidence, just to jump in there. Sorry, Anna.
I agree. I mean, we had a lot of involvement from parents last year who would come to GAC meetings and just express a lot of frustration that their child was not getting consistent differentiation, or not getting differentiation at the level that was challenging for their child's needs. And so it's just, we've heard a lot of it last year from parents who were coming to the meeting.
And I guess, like, if
we haven't had parents this year because
it is. So it's anecdotal. It's from.
And that's why. Oh, sorry. Are you still speaking? You got frozen. He's frozen.
Anna, can I add a little?
Yeah.
I guess, like, one of my questions is
broad statements like principals need reminders.
Sorry, you were broken up for a really long. You were frozen for a really long time. Could you just summarize what you just said? I'm sorry.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. Did you want to say something, Emily?
Yeah, I just had a question, because I feel like, and I don't know if this is something that we could kind of give as just like, I mean, obviously it's not that we expect any, but it's just like an idea or advice, but making sure that our classroom teacher or our clustered teachers are on board with being the like the gifted cluster teacher, because I feel like sometimes they're, I don't know, just to make sure that, like, it's the best possible working situation between the GRTs. I feel like GRTs would appreciate it too, making sure that it wasn't just like some random teacher was assigned like the cluster group, just, and because so much falls on that relationship between the GRT and the classroom teacher working together.
Gifted staff did put that in their next steps. They specifically said that they recommend that classroom teachers are consulted and that they are willing to participate and willing to be trained and plan together.
Yeah, because some years, like taking, like, speaking as a parent, you know, some teachers are like, you know, all in, and then others are like, well, I really didn't want this group, you know. So making sure that our principals are I don't know. I don't know if that's decided by the principal or what, but, you know, just making sure that it's the best possible working situation for the students and the teachers and everyone involved. The GRTs, they're not getting pushed back from the teachers and the, you know, things like that.
Yeah. And it is, I appreciate that the gifted staff put that in as one of their steps.
I remember, now that you said that, I do remember reading that earlier. So yeah, I noticed that. I appreciate seeing that too.
Since it's about 8:25, we need to make a plan of what we're going to do going forward and how we're going to collaborate on our report.
Yeah, we do. So have made, I've started a Google Doc owned by the MCPS GAC account. And I am going to, once I get all your email addresses, add you as editors. And, or I guess we can add to, okay, anyway, or we can add to Diane's report. I guess we decide to do it that way. And then I guess, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we can break up the document and say like one person you work on this, one person you work on that. I don't know. Well, do you guys have any other ideas? We need to have before, like a week or two before the next meeting, so that everybody can look at it and then we vote to approve it at the next meeting. Yeah, go ahead.
And we could put like the fourth column and let people fill in, and then people can make comments on those columns. And then come back as a group and decide. Can we, I guess, we can't really meet till the next meeting though, right? I mean,
correct.
So we can't just, yeah.
Yeah.
But if we did that and then we fill in that fourth column and then we all make recommendations or comments or whatever on what's in there, or take different colors. That's what we do as a gifted staff a lot of times, is we'll comment in different colors in the same box. And then when everyone agrees, it turns black. So.
Yeah, so make comments within the text itself in a different color.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds good to me.
I think we need to make sure though that we're not necessarily making recommendations like we were told not to, that we're just making sure that we're following our guidelines and, you know, making sure that we're following our guidelines and not just making blatant recommendations.
But I disagree with that. The word recommendations is in the Code of Virginia, that we make recommendations.
Well, if we can refer to, Carl typed out what he said earlier, and I think that's probably what we just need to remember, not that we are not recommending those big broad statements that may be specifically one parent complaining or upset about one situation for their child. We need to look at the big picture, and that's where our recommendations come from.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's hard to do without the information. Like one of my questions was, what do we know about how often classroom teachers are providing differentiated instruction in their classroom? I
would like to speak to that from the elementary standpoint. Just to say, first, I just want to, as a mom and as a former teacher, I've had the opportunity to see both sides, and then also, of course, you know, as an administrator and a principal, differentiation. It is hard. It is hard sometimes to differentiate and to do it well. But I have to say, and I think Carl got booted out, so not speaking to secondary, but for elementary, our teachers differentiate instruction every single day. They differentiate instruction in their small reading groups. They differentiate instruction in their small math groups. I mean, just the whole structure of the elementary school, I'm just so proud to say it, is that it's built that way. We recognize that our children come to us from all different levels, on, below, significantly above grade level. And our teachers at the elementary level do such a wonderful, wonderful job, you know, breaking their kids into small groups and providing, you know, center work and independent work for other students so that they can rotate different groups through to differentiate instruction. So again, at the elementary level, it's done every day. Sometimes it's harder than other times. They work super hard at it, they plan it, but I did just want to make sure that I did say that in terms of what happens in elementary. And certainly when a child is not getting the differentiated instruction that they need, that becomes an individual conversation with a teacher and a principal. And there are many reasons why that might happen sometimes. But again, I just want to point that out. And I see that Ms. Phillips added that comment as well. Thank you.
As an elementary teacher, I have to agree with that as well. It does look different though from year to year, just even with the same teacher. And then you could go from second grade to third grade and it looked very, very different because you have a different teacher and a different teaching style as well. But yes, I agree with that, Dr. Wickham.
Well, it is reassuring to hear everybody saying that. So yeah. Thank you. But yeah.
Can I ask a question about, and maybe this is for Marty Graham or Barbara, those of you who know procedures better. Are we fine to, like Marty Hale said, comment and add to a collaborative document, and then at our next meeting, we can discuss and vote or whatever we need to do for final revisions of that?
Yes, you can, as long as you don't have a conversation in your document, a discussion. So just doing what you were talking about, Terry, is, adding notes in that fourth column.
Okay.
For each one of those doesn't constitute having a discussion. It's just adding your portion to the document. Only when you come back for the meeting and you're discussing this, as a committee, you have to all agree that everyone or the majority is good with the comments as well as your summary.
Okay, so comments, but not a sideline chat back and forth.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it can't be like, so what do you guys think I should do here? What do you think we should say for the summary? It can't be a discussion. It needs to be, that happens during your meeting. But you can go in and edit the document, add your comments, your analysis, or however you want, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess we have a plan, and we have a plan.
And Anna, you said you already created that document and can go ahead and share it with us.
Well, so I'll do it tomorrow. I did, but it's gonna look different now that we're using Diane's report. So I'll try to get that done. Yeah.
Okay.
And send out an email to everybody. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll just say, before I adjourn the meeting, does anyone want to make any other comments or just say anything?
Oops.
Okay. Okay.
Julie Stanley came to the meeting, so she's here. When you note who was attending, she spoke a few minutes ago.
Yes. Okay.
I have a real quick question, probably for Marty Graham. If Anna's working on this and she wants to have help or run it past somebody, is that okay?
Yeah, she can easily send an email and say, okay, I just did X, Y, and Z. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Now,
okay,
when she sends that email, Marty, you can't say, yes, I like this, and reply to all. You would have to reply just to Anna.
That was my question. Anna, if you need help, let me know.
Yeah, so that's a very, very good question.
Okay.
If you reply to all, then you are having a discussion outside a public meeting.
Okay.
If you reply to the person who sent it, you are not.
Okay.
Now, Anna can then take your question and reply to all and provide everybody the answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to offer my assistance, but only if I'm allowed to do that. So,
Oh, no, absolutely. It's just the way you handle it that you have to be careful of
Okay.
with emails.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I just wanted to say, like, I hope other people feel free to work on the document. Like, I'd rather not have it be just me working on it. And I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, just to emphasize, every single person on the committee can make comments and add to the document. Just, I guess, like we were saying, if you can make it like a different color or something, so, and identify yourself. Or I don't know, maybe you don't even have to identify yourself, but just do a color and, yeah. If you feel comfortable identifying yourself, please do, because it might.
Well, the way a Google document works is that we'll all be able to see who's doing.
Oh, that's right, I forgot. Yeah, it'll show. Okay. Yeah, so I guess there's no further business. So I will go ahead and I am adjourning this meeting. Thanks, everybody, for attending.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.